This is a video to help anyone trying the first stage of OFR's Season 5 Dirt Rally reboot. This stage time was a 3:18.5 as far as memory serves. So I just want to take you through a few little tips and tricks that I've been running on this stage, some of my pointers, some of my, I guess you call them techniques that I'm using, but there's not much going on, just quite a lot of handbrake abuse, as you'll see. So, from the very start stage, I was restarting a lot, so you get a lot of time to practice that. Going into turn 1 then. Two bollards surrounding the track are your turn-in point. However, you can take a lot more of the beaten path than you think. Going into turn 1, I was already turning by the time I met these two bollards. No handbrake usage, but you can straddle all of this inside line. You see the walls collapse there, but the car wasn't actually making contact if I flick it around to here. There's no contact being made. That's simply just the hitbox of the car, but it's not being slowed down. Importantly, so carry that as close to the wall as you like. It'll give you a good boost of time going into second straight. It's a flat corner. This you'll be carrying either fourth or third. Use third if you're wanting to get the car pivoted a bit more. It might cost you a bit of momentum, but it might just be safer or more comfortable to use. Going up into what I call turn 2 now. Fairly tricky corner, this one. This is obviously the first corner that you'll want to be using your handbrake. As you can see from the footage here, the car starts turning out, starts stepping out of the back from the turning point. That's the use of the handbrake. Actually keeping it from the wall, but helping it turn in more, because of the point-and-shoot nature of the all-wheel drive. You'll be down in third gear for this, I think. I haven't been using either fourth or second particularly through this set of corners. Really, that's the two bollards are the point that I start using the handbrake to really rotate the car. But you can see I'm already pivoting the car towards the apex by this point, just so that I can get the handbrake in a bit more effective at the apex. One thing you don't want to try and do is overshoot this corner, because this banking on the left is very notorious for just flipping cars and sending them straight into the river up ahead. You want a nice... quick little side note, I don't know if I need to mention this. By this point, you want the car straightened up fairly nice and narrow. Not necessarily for these two gates on the left and right. They will stop you dead, and they will probably give you terminal damage, taking them at full racing speed. But also this bridge. To set up the next corner, you don't really want to be on the edges of them. You can do it, and it's perfectly safe. But to set up the next corner, you probably just want to stay on the beaten path. Speaking of course, turn 3. It's fairly the same, pretty much the same. The first corner, you need braking here, but the profile's fairly the same. It's a quick four right, taking a lot of that inside curb. Don't worry, I didn't take too close to the wall this time, so you can see the wall doesn't dissolve when I get close to it. You don't want to straddle too much of the inside here, as you want to be setting up the next corner. So you want to be carrying good speed through here, fourth gear, fifth gear, however high your revs go. You can pretty much take this as normal gearing through fourth, fifth. But then heading into the next corner, this is probably to me the first really interesting corner of the stage. You can see here I start right on the inside. Weirdly, this is probably one of the only in-out-in corners in most motorsports, or in most virtual motorsports. You're ideally positioning the car around the middle of, or around here actually, here or the middle of the track, so that you can start turning in when these bollards, or when these walls, sorry, stop appearing. From this point, you want to already be sliding the car in, so you already want to be giving it a lot of wheel movement. A quick bit of advice in case you're wondering. Through all of these, I've been using excessive wheel movement to actually oversteer the car and help it turn in. This would be overdriving the car in any other circumstance, but because the physics of this game are slightly wonky sometimes, you can actually overdrive the car and it'll help rotate it, it'll help oversteer it so that you can power out of the corner with a bit more vigour. About this point, Obviously I can hit the bollard there. That's not ideal for the speed. They do slow you down quite a bit. But by this point in the corner, you want to start applying handbrake, and just carrying enough speed so that you're not going off the edge here. Stay to the outside, because what you want to do is you want to start turning in as soon as you see this clump of rocks on the left. Don't try and hit the apex there. You can see I did it here, but what you really want to do is you want to just make this entire section from here to the end of this mound of mud. That will be your continuous apex. Do not try and get close to this mound of rock at all. It is absolutely lethal and will ruin your stage before the first checkpoint. But yeah, a really quick left-hander here, and just carry as much speed as you can on the outside. Make sure you're curving back in on the inside, though. It's a gradually tightening corner. Its radius tightens over time, so watch out for the inside rock, and just carry your speed nicely on through this uphill section. Nothing really descriptive until you get to this point here. There's a quick pointer. There is going to this corner. There's a jump here. You can see the wheels are off the ground. Once you feel that, it's time to start braking and getting on the handbrake. Collectively, it's 2 left. I think I was taking this in 2nd gear most of the time. You can see brake was on back there. Handbrake just comes on now as the car pivots out. Straddle the inside as close as you dare. Just be aware that there are points where it sticks out more than others, especially towards the end of the corner. But yeah, 2nd gear, a quick burst to the handbrake, but keep it out, keep the rear end out, keep the rear end rotated, because you'll be able to power out of the corner that much quicker. 4 left here, nondescript, not much to talk about. Going into this right hand that goes massively downhill from this point on. I start turning in when I start to see these 2 bollards quite clearly. Take as much of this inside as I can. I was alternating between sticking in 4th and dropping down to 3rd at this point. I wasn't. I was rarely using handbrake. I did a few times. I felt pretty comfortable with it. I think ultimately handbrake use here goes down to personal preference. It should be noted that my brake bias is on about 58%, and my braking force is 1 click higher than the default setting. So that will affect a lot of what you're seeing here. Watch out for the exit through there, as it comes quite quickly, and then you're onto this awesome section of road. What you really want to be doing here is just aiming for these mounds of grass on the inside. They're going to be your apex. You don't want to go any further over the track than that. And then your apex here will be about this bush of greenery on the right. Obviously, you can carry the inside much further than that, but you don't really want to go any further across the track than these bushes. Straight into the next corner then. This 5 left will set up a very important corner on the track. So the way I was carrying the speed is I was only getting close to this mound of mud behind me here when the corner was pretty much over from here. As you can see, it straightens up. Reason being, that particular amount of mud, or the end of it at least, getting too close or trying to ride it will inevitably flip your car and send you tumbling at 100 miles an hour into one of those 3 trees. Ill-advisable. So, into this 5 right, this is, in my opinion, one of the trickiest corners on this entire track. What I have to say here is handbrake is probably off limits. You want to rotate the car of your own accord. So going in, I was at points going through these 2 bollards. I wouldn't suggest it. I was carrying 4th through here at moderate speed, and it seemed to be fine. You can get somewhat over this mound of mud on the left. Do not push your luck. It's very easy to make the car react in all sorts of untoward ways. It'll jump, it'll flip, you'll lose control of it most of the time. Really, you want to be centering up for the next jump, and centering up so that you don't take that sign and lose a lot of time, because even if you survive all that, even if you survive a quick jump or a quick straddle across this mound of mud on the left, chances are you'll be going into this sign on the left, and that'll just lose straight line speed going down to the next section. So just as a reminder, I'll play this particular corner through again. Apex is there, carrying probably 4th gear, 5th gear, and then just making sure I'm not too close on the left so that I can recenter the car about here for this quick jump. You get a good amount of airtime from that. That's probably a nice small convertible could go under there. Now, as soon as you hit the ground, start braking for this square right-hand side. You'll have a quick few more smaller jumps which will interrupt your braking, and that's why you need to start so early on the hill. So that your momentum isn't being continued through those jumps and ultimately heading through that wall. Once you hit the corner, the sign on the right, that obviously you can't see from this angle, there you go. That'll be your turning point. There's a good amount of grass on the inside, not so much here, but once you get to this point, take as much of this as you can. It's a really nice apex with a lot of time to gain if you can line it up right. A lot of handbrake usage, of course. Anything lower than a 3 will require a lot of handbrake usage through Australia. So carrying a lot of speed through the gates, running down into this square right. A lot of handbrake usage. First and second gear will be your best friends here. I think I was using first for most of it and then powering out. Try not to go too far onto the brake. Don't push your luck with the brakes because there is a bit of late braking that you can do. Maybe like a split second after the jump is finished. But ultimately, if you do, you'll end up sailing out onto the tarmac immediately, and it'll just cost a lot of time. Taking a tighter line like this obviously helps to improve stage time overall. Quick flick here, I tried not to hit the bollard on the right as much as I can. Down into this 3 left. Carry, for the first part of this corner, obviously a lot of handbrake usage. You can see a Scandinavian flick from the inside of the corner. A lot of handbrake usage, get as much of a drift on as you can. Carrying third into the entry of the corner, but then quickly shifting down to second on the exit. Or even halfway through the corner smells, I was shifting down into second for that turn in. But yeah, just carry the inside as close as you can. It's really just an apex corner. There's no funny business to it. You've just got to carry that apex without cutting too much. Into the second corner, a bit tighter than the last. Obviously handbrake usage again, but relatively the same principle. Second gear carried all the way this time, not shifting up into third from the start. Keep it close on the apex. And try and keep your speed up. Quick left flick follows into this right-hander. I'm unsure what kind of setups people are running. I just stole mine from a YouTube channel called Rally Technical. But with the setup I was running, even with no setup most of the time on my first few runs, I was able to carry this corner flat. You've just got to get quite close to the inside and watch for the corner exit, because it does go on for a bit longer than you think. Obviously, you see the 2 bollards there, I think it might be straightening up. It goes on for just a bit longer. Now, to the untrained eye, this will be a 5 left. However, this can very easily be taken flat. Once you see those two bollards, start on your first apex. We're going to make this into a double apex corner. In fact, you really don't even need to do that. I don't think you could make it a double apex corner by flicking to the left there and then starting to come back to the right-hand side of the track when you see those 2 bollards on the horizon. Or you could make this a single apex by starting in the middle of the track, and then once you see these 2 bollards, that's your cue to start turning aggressively inward. So you can set up the next straight section just right. That's when it'll set up. Get as close to the right-hand side as you dare, but ideally stay about where I am right there. Because any further across the track and you'll be risking knocking that quick cattle gate post and getting terminal damage over the massive hill. Now, first real tarmac section of the track. Once you see that sign, you can carry maybe a car's length over it before braking down into 4th gear. Now, of course, because it's tarmac, if you're not running anti-lock brakes, you'll lock the brakes almost instantly. You need to watch out for that here, otherwise it'll be a quick trip into the Yokohama barriers coming up. If you're not running ABS, it should be a fairly nondescript corner. Braking down into 4th gear, no handbrake usage, but get that rotation, get that back end into rotation. The physics in this game work in a weird way, where oversteering and drifting doesn't necessarily harm your time. So take as much rear rotation as you wish. Watch for these Yokohama barriers on the left, they can very easily cost you a lot of time. There's a good distance between them and the barrier further into the left, but ultimately the Yokohama barriers are still collision objects and they will cost you time. You see there, I didn't even clip that one. Didn't cost me any time, but apparently it still decided it didn't want to live anymore. Again though, into this, what's called a 3 left. This is very easily flat if you're in the right conditions. Start on the right hand side of the track, no handbrake needed, use the rotation from the last 4 right, sorry. Use the rotation from that, Scandinavia flick it onto the inside, watch for that inside bulge there. It's only a very small one, but it's very noticeable once you start racing the run. And then I was carrying through here I was probably carrying 3rd or 4th. Mainly carrying 3rd so that I've got more revs at my disposal in case I carry too far over to the barrier. Very easy to do and will cost you your stage. Over this bit, try not to clip that sign on the right. It'll obviously cost you. And again, this run had a pretty terrible version of this corner. It was the only mistake I made in what was otherwise a really, really fantastic run, at least for me, of this stage. So what you want to be doing is you want to start much further to the inside, much further to the right-hand side of the track. At this point, you don't want to use all of this space like I was doing. I think I fell asleep going through this initial part of the track. You want to start on the right-hand side and then slowly shift it back to the inside. Once it starts turning over the hill, that's your sign to start hitting that apex. So about at this point on the track, on that right-hand side, you want to bring it into 4th, into 3rd, and start turning towards that inside apex. And then start watching out for this banking on the right. I was very lucky this didn't end my stage, personally. I managed to ride it and pretty much get away with what would have otherwise been a race-ending collision. See, this is why I was mainly carrying 3rd, again, so I can use the torque from the higher rev band to try and power away from the wall, use a bit more rotation. Free to use 4th though if you feel confident with the corner line you're taking. Into the second tarmac corner, the real tarmac corner on the track. Turning, again, for anyone not running ABS, this corner will be a bit of a nightmare under braking. I start braking about the middle of that kind of mound of mud on the right-hand side, and then what you're really doing is you're aiming for the 2 bollards on the left, not to hit them, but just to maybe graze them at best. I usually stuck to this dirt kind of invasion of the track that you see on the left. That was my personal track limits, so that I wasn't carrying too much speed, that I wasn't flinging into the bollards on the left. A lot of handbraking. I was carrying 3rd through the entry of the corner, and then quickly shifting down to 2nd on the exit for the higher torque. You can hear it just there. There it is. And yeah, just watch out again for that sign on the right. It's very easy to hit trying to carry too much speed. This is the class is a 4 right in-game. You want to start braking around that road sign on the left. And I was bringing the car down to 3rd, I think, at this point, in an effort to keep it as close to the inside as possible. This is a really long corner, and it will tighten on the exit because the corner changes direction at the end of it. As you can see here, it goes from right to a slight left going into the next corner. So just watch out for this barrier on the left. You don't need handbrake. You should just be able to use the transition from gravel to tarmac, also from tarmac to gravel. You'll be carrying that speed, it'll start braking almost instantly, and then you'll be able to use that anti-lock to pivot the car So a bit of a slide and to keep that rotation going. Into the next 4 right, this is a really deceiving corner, as I personally wouldn't call it 4 right. Using a lot, you want to ideally start hitting the apex before these 2 bollards on the right. Again, fairly standard corner, 3rd or 4th, it's personal preference, I think, but you've just got to watch out for this kind of divot on the track on the left. Don't carry all of your speed going through there. Ultimately, you'll compromise your run into the next corner. It's only a fairly short one and run the risk of colliding with the barrier that runs out here. Into this 2 left now, I personally agree with the 2 left. Obviously it's on tarmac, so try and get your braking started on the gravel and then down into tarmac for the lockup with rotation. You can see here, there wasn't handbrake usage there, I was just using the rear locking, try and pivot the car in. Not too close to the apex, and to be fair, you don't really have too much to worry about carrying the apex here. The inside is fairly generous with the amount of inside run it gives you. Obviously it does steep up quite quickly, but you can see that the dirt has a bit of a shallow spot to it, which you can carry speed through. I believe that might have been a small lift, but that's a very quick right-hander. It's not a 3 left, don't confuse it for one. Going into the last part of the track then. Start braking as soon as your wheels all make contact with the ground again. You can see the car's raised at this point, it's just come off of that jump. And then you want to start braking down into the square right-hand corner. Watch out for those bushes on the inside of the track. A few times I got away with running through them. Most of the time they end up slowing me down or spinning me, going to a complete stop. I wouldn't run the risk if I were you. You can carry just as much speed, taking the normal line down to second, first gear, and running the corner quite gently. Switch to cockpit view for this one. You can see down to second at that point, up to third for the next. I think they call this a full left in game. It can be taken pretty much flat with reasonable momentum from the last corner. Flicking through here, nice little S section. Keep it as close to the apex as possible. Keep the car as straight as possible. Carrying time. You want to start braking a tiny bit through this quick 5 left. Obviously, you can see the sign is knocked over there. I think I might have actually made contact with this one. You can see there, yeah. That was probably a mistake on my part. It doesn't matter too much. Ultimately, you'll probably be braking a tiny bit into this next section anyway. As you see, it goes through a cattle grid. These things are horrible for turning, so you want to get a tiny bit of braking done. I think I dipped down into third, fourth gear through the cattle grid. So if I can get back to my camera, here we go. You want to carry pretty much central, but you don't want to carry too much speed, as there's a barrier that closes very quickly in on the left from the initial corner stage. You can see it there, the car wants to drift out, and then just watch out for the directional changes going through this next part of the track. This should, from this point on, be flat out. The final real warning from this part of the track is these gates on the left and right hand side. Don't try and run them too close. Ultimately, they will just eat you alive either way. Try and keep to the middle of the track or close enough, as you see here. This really quick final 2 classed as corners of the stage. You get this 5 right. Don't be stingy with your turning here. It's all too easy to just think of it as not much of a corner and end up flinging into the tree on the left, or end up getting a massive slide off of this jump and spinning it into the barriers that are there. Make sure to be generous with your steering, but not to a point where you're inducing too much oversteer at this point. Obviously, you can see you get a bit of a slide on going into this final jump on the track, but it's one controllable enough. You can see I start counter steering before the jump itself, so that the car straightens up just a bit before this final gate and the finish of the track. So that was a quick run through. I say quick, we've been going on for nearly 25 minutes now of the Bondi Forest stage. I hope this was of help to some people. It's a very tricky stage, one that requires a lot of commitment through some quick 5 left, 5 rights, and some good handbrake usage through some of the slower sections. I hope this could be a help of you, and thank you for watching.